Hey guys, quite an interesting pay-per-view for Untouchable 2012. For those of you who may have been busy tonight, maybe watching the Olympics, maybe went out, go see a movie, maybe went to see a baseball game. Um, Here's my review of Untouchable 2012 from Dragon Gate USA. It started off with Chuck Taylor and Jake Manning in the ring, and it's a weird segment because Chuck asks Jake Manning to show the people how to make fire. So he has his wood and he's trying to make fire in the ring. And then all of a sudden, Rich Swann runs out in the ring, chases Chuck Taylor. They fight towards the back. Meanwhile, Lenny Leonard comes. This comment just came out of the blue, and he's like, well, thankfully, that ends the segment for retards. And it was like, whoa. Because he was referring to, Jake Manning, making fire. Well, that's the end of that session for retards. He would later apologize during this first match. Yeah. Mick Foley's going to win a world title. I'll put a lot of butts in the seats for retards. All right, anyway. Opening match, Jake Manning against John Davis. This is pretty much a squash match. Jake did get a couple of moves in, but it was all John Davis, all power. He got the win with a finishing move around the world in 3 seconds. John Davis got the win. After that, Chuck Taylor and Rich Swann continue to fight out of the ring. So they come back from the locker room. They go into the ring, and their match is next. And Taylor goes to the floor. Rich Swann does a really good dive over the top rope. And about the first 5 minutes of this match, they're on the outside of the ring. They're brawling outside of the ring. Once they get back into the ring, they have a pretty good match. I thought this was the best match of the first half of the show. The end of the match comes when Rich Swann is attempting a Hurricane Rana from the top rope. Chuck Taylor stops Swann as he's going down, locks him in a single leg crab. Rich Swann reaches the rope. Chuck Taylor refuses to let go of the rope, or Chuck Taylor refuses to let go of the hold, pardon me. Referee disqualifies Chuck Taylor, so Rich Swann wins the match via disqualification. After the match, Johnny Gargano comes out to the ring. He fights with Taylor a little bit, and that sends Taylor to the back. Then, all of a sudden, Christina Von Eerie comes out. Now, she's the manager of Mad Blanky, and she's just basically saying, we're going to beat you tonight, Akira Tozawa is. And she spits him right in the face. And because if you remember back at Evolve 14 she slapped El Generico across the face, and Generico gave her a Yakuza kick. Gargano didn't do anything with that. Next match, the Super Smash Brothers against The Scene. Funny entrance. Player Uno and Player Dos come out. They knock over the stage. It really wasn't much of a stage. It was more of like a little entranceway. It was like, like this. And they accidentally knock it over. And I think somebody was like, 1,000,000 points. The first couple of minutes of this tag match was good. After that, it got sloppy towards the middle and towards the end of this match. And I really felt bad in a way for both teams because the last time I saw The Scene in tag team action, they had a pretty good match. And the Super Smash Brothers are a very exciting, good tag team. I felt bad that these two teams, it seemed like they were rushing a little bit. It seemed like, they were getting sloppy. They weren't doing everything right that they were supposed to. But in the end, the Super Smash Brothers got the win, and they win in their debut in Dragon Gate USA over a tag team in the scene that, that Dragon Gate USA is really trying to push. Next up is Ricochet against Yamato. Before the match, Ricochet cuts a promo saying how he's protesting this weekend, how it's unfair that he has to wrestle to win the United Gate title again when he had the belt twice, was never beaten for the belt twice, and was stripped because of the other partner. So Ricochet and Yamato happen. This is Yamato's first Dragon Gate USA match since he lost the belt to Johnny Gargano in November. This was a good match. Not a lot of high flying as I thought it would be. But Yamato ends up getting the win with a nice spear. It was a nice move. Yamato got the win. After that, John Davis comes out. He cuts a quick promo saying, I was very impressed with you tonight, but tomorrow night you're going to be in a fight with me. And then all of a sudden, Yamato, it's a low blow on John Davis and locks in the choke sleep hold. And it takes a couple of the referees to get Yamato off of him. So that's the end of the first half of the show. So we come back to the second half. Nate Matson and Derek Rise, and I wrote Rise's last name wrong, they went up to face Eric Cannon and Pinky Sanchez of the DUF. Again, this is a squash match. Cannon and Sanchez got the win when Eric Cannon hit his finishing move. Total Anarchy got the victory. This really wasn't much of a match to talk about. After the match, it seems like they did a lot of segments after the matches tonight, which was weird. Eric Cannon says that they have a new member of the DUF, and the new member of the DUF is Masada, the current CZW Heavyweight Champion. Masada comes into the ring, grabs the mic, says, I'm not joining any group. Every time I've been in the group, I've been put in the background. I am my own man. And that gets Eric Cannon upset, and it leads to an impromptu match of Pinky Sanchez against Masada. And, Pinky Sanchez hit a dive once, and then he tried a second time, and he got hit with a chair. And that was basically the end of the match, because Masada just dominated the rest of this match. He won with an STF. It was a combination of an STF and the Regal Stretch, you could say. So Masada won via submission. Then we have Shima and AR Fox against El Generico and Samurai Del Sol. I can tell you guys right now, this was the match of the night, hands down. This was a very good tag team match. Generico and Shima started off. They had a couple of minutes of good wrestling. And then AR Fox and Samurai Del Sol had a couple of good minutes of wrestling. And it just went on from there. There was one point in the match where everyone is on the floor. AR Fox goes on the apron, jumps the second rope, does a reverse 450. And I swear, I thought he knocked himself out because he landed right on his back, right on the head, on that hard concrete. I thought he knocked himself out, but he did not. And it was weird because he hit the move, it looked like he killed himself, and yet El Generico had to go to the back to get his arm taped up, his right arm taped up, his shoulder. A lot of near falls in this match. Like I said, it was a very good match. It was the best match of the night. End of the match came when both AR Fox and Shima hit their finishing move. The names of it slips my mind. I apologize for that. But Shima and AR Fox get the win in a fantastic tag team match. And then the main event of the night, Akira Tozawa challenging Johnny Gargano for the title. This was a good match. There were a couple times where, you thought Tozawa was going to win the title. Gargano there were a couple of scary moments. One was Tozawa put Gargano in a German suplex, hit that on the apron, and Gargano looked like he may have been out of it for the rest of the match, but he continued. A couple of near falls both times on the part of both men. End of the match comes when Gargano locks in Gargano Escape for the third time on Tozawa, and Tozawa tapped out. Johnny Gargano got the win, retained the title. After the match, Gargano got the mic, cut a it was from the heart, this promo. And the first thing he did was he pointed to this kid who was sitting in the front row. He was wearing a Lions jersey, Matthew Stafford. And he pointed to this kid, and he was like, I hope that you got your money's worth tonight. Now, this kid's probably no more than 8, 9, 10 years old, and he's like, what? You're talking? So Gargano cuts this long promo. Not long, but, a good promo. And he talks about, the rumors going around that he's going to leave Dragon Gate USA to go to WWE, and, all this stuff that's been talked about as of late. And Gargano says in the middle of this promo that he became a wrestler because he loved independent professional wrestling. And he felt that, sadly, independent professional wrestling is slowly dying. Well, I can't have an opinion on that right now, so I'm not going to put my 2 cents in. So he then says that he is staying with Dragon Gate USA. He signed a contract. He is staying with Dragon Gate USA, and he's going to make that belt mean something. So after the match, Chuck Taylor and Jake Manning come out. They attack him, and then Shima comes out to make the save, and he does the usual, did everybody have a good time tonight? That whole shtick, and that's the end of the show. All in all, this was a good show from Dragon Gate USA. They had a couple, hit and miss matches. It was like, you have a really good match with Chuck Taylor and Johnny Gargano, or Rich Swann, and then the next match was not that good. And then you have another good match, and then you have another bad match. But the last 2 matches really made up for some of the bad matches that happened. This was a good show. Best match of the night was the tag match, Shima and AR Fox against El Generico and Samurai del Sol. The second best match was Chuck Taylor, Rich Swann, and the third best was Akira Tozawa and Johnny Gargano. And this is going to lead to a very interesting show tomorrow. Once I come back from my break, I will review that show. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Untouchable 2012. A really good show, headlined by a good title defense, and one hell of a tag team match.